You get dressed like it is the most normal thing in the world. But the first humans who did it were still in warm Africa. So if clothes were not invented for winter, what were they for? The strangest part is that the best date for clothing does not come from cloth at all. It comes from a parasite that can only live in your clothes. If hides and cloth almost always rot away, how do you date something that disappeared? The clearest clue is lice. Head lice live in hair, clothing lice live in garments, and they need clothes often enough to treat them like home. If a whole branch of lice evolved to live in clothes, humans had to be wearing them regularly, not just once in a while and not just in bad weather. Clothing lice split from head lice around 170,000 years ago. Even the most careful estimate still lands around 83,000 years ago. Either way, the timing is early, very early. Modern humans are still in Africa at that point, and the big move into cold Eurasia has not happened yet. Serious winter travel comes about 70,000 years later. Your shirt is not just fabric in the story. It is a place a parasite can live. It is stable, old, and common enough that a parasite evolved around it. That is how normal clothing had already become. Then the timeline gets even stranger. Humans did not invent clothes right after losing fur. Humans lost most useful body hair roughly 1.2 million years ago. So your species walked around mostly naked for about 1 million years before regular clothing became normal. That gap is absurd. If clothes were just replacement fur, they should show up right when fur disappears. If clothes were just affixed for cold, they should show up right when winter becomes the problem. They do neither. So bare skin came first, by a mile. Clothing shows up much later, added onto an animal that had already been living as a mostly hairless primate for ages. Your skin is older than your wardrobe by an embarrassing amount. Once you're a mostly hairless animal, putting something on your body does more than keep heat in. It gives you a new outer layer you can control, cover, decorate, pad, wrap, or hide. You are no longer stuck with only the skin evolution gave you. Bones and cut marks point the same way. Not coats yet, and not anything like a jacket, just people doing very serious work on animal skins. At Contrebandiers Cave on the Atlantic coast of Morocco, people left behind shaped bone tools between 120,000 and 90,000 years ago. 54 of them. They had been scraped and ground into forms that fit hide work. The cave also held carnivore bones with cut marks that looked like careful skinning, with much less sign that the goal was meat. So people were processing furs and hides on purpose. That doesn't mean a closet full of tailored outfits. It means wraps, covers, slings, ties, maybe something thrown over the shoulders, maybe something used while hunking, maybe something for carrying a child. The first clothing probably didn't look like clothes the way you mean the word now. They probably looked more like draping and tying things on than getting dressed. Eyed needles are the sign that changes the picture. A sharp bone is one thing, but a needle with an eye is another. That little hole lets you stitch shaped pieces together into something snug, layered, and actually built for cold. Those show up only around 40,000 years ago. So there are really two inventions hiding inside the word clothes. First, humans start covering themselves often enough for lice to split into a whole new kind.
Much later, humans learned to turn those coverings into real cold weather gear. That gap is huge, more than 100,000 years, which means the first regular clothing was probably not mainly about parkas. It was something else. So what was the first piece for? The honest answer is that there are several good guesses and no single winner. Loose coverings help with sun, thorns, rubbing, insects, carrying, and even hiding you while hunting. They also let the body show things in public, like status, ritual, sex, modesty, and belonging. Once the habit exists, it can do all of that at once. Across traditional hunter-gatherer societies, body coverings often do two jobs at once as disguise or ritual gear, not just warmth. That does not prove the first covering was for ritual or camouflage, but it does show how fast body coverings become social. Very fast. Humans turn everything into communication, especially bodies. And if you had to bet on one broad answer, it is probably not winter. It is managing the body. A hairless animal starts using loose coverings for public life, rough ground, sun, insects, carrying, and hunting and display. Once that behavior sticks, it becomes normal, and the first reason gets buried under 10 new ones. What do you think the first piece was really for? Insects, display, carrying, camouflage, or something else? In northern Siberia at Yana RHS, humans were living near 71 degrees north around 32,000 years ago. That is deep Arctic country. Brutal winter, barely any daylight, the kind of cold that treats exposed skin like an insult. The site has eyed needles and advanced bone tools right alongside the earliest secure human presence there. A habit that started in warm Africa ends up working like portable insulation. Once fitted clothing exists, your body can go places bare skin never could. And that second skin changes everything. Other animals adapt to a climate by changing their bodies across generations. You start doing something stranger. You change the body from the outside, right now, on purpose, and then walk into a new climate anyway. You put on a jacket and the problem changes. Add boots, gloves, and layers, and now a tropical primate is standing in the Arctic arguing about dinner. There is one important limit here. We can say regular clothing existed by around 170,000 years ago in Africa with real confidence. The lice clock is strong on that. It is not strong on the exact first reason. Early hides rot away, so the first reason is still partly hidden. The same evidence also can't tell you whether other human relatives wore simple coverings that left no trace. So the honest answer is that we know when regular clothing was very likely there. We do not know exactly why the first piece went on. But that uncertainty actually makes the picture clearer. If cold were the whole story, the timeline would line up neatly. Fur goes, clothes arrive, winter is handled. Instead, you get 1,000,000 naked years, then regular clothing in warm Africa, then tailored cold weather gear much later. The order is messy because the first purpose was probably about social life or managing the body before it was about surviving winter. So the next time you get dressed, you're not just protecting yourself from the weather. You're repeating a behavior that began before winter needed it. Before it was installation, it was a habit. Before it was survival gear, it was part of social life. Before it let humans live almost anywhere, it changed what a human body even was. Clothes didn't just help you survive the cold. Clothes let you change your body on purpose and carry that changed body into almost any world.